All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about an ongoing comparison between Canelo Alvarez and Floyd Mayweather Jr., where certain media personalities and people are saying that Canelo Alvarez is still greater than Floyd Mayweather Jr., even after the Bivol defeat, because Canelo Alvarez did something Floyd Mayweather never tried to do. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we are going to talk about the great Floyd Mayweather Jr. and the greater Canelo Alvarez, at least according to certain media personalities and boxing fans out there who are putting forth the notion that even in defeat against Dimitri Bivol, that Canelo Alvarez is still greater and his career is still greater than Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s. Before I get into that subject matter, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are subscribed to the channel and a longtime supporter of the channel, let me say thank you very, very much for your support. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. All right, so here we go. And I'm going to tell you, man, I'm going to try to put this argument forward in a way that it was intended and not try to be mocking when I do this. Canelo Alvarez just lost to Dimitri Bivol, trying to obtain the 175-pound WBA super title against Dimitri Bivol in a fight that the scorecards had close, 115-113. But many people had a wide margin for. Dimitri Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez. Now, leading into the fight, the Canelo Alvarez supporters, his team, his trainer, Eddie Reynoso, was saying that Canelo Alvarez was chasing greatness. And what he was doing was trying to secure his place in boxing history, where some people, who shall remain nameless in this video, said could potentially end up with him being the greatest fighter of all time. Now, after this loss, however, many people are looking at that a different way. Some people, however, are still making the argument that Canelo Alvarez still is that, and it did not matter that he lost to Dimitri Bivol. It was the fact that he challenged himself to fight Dimitri Bivol is what counts. And that is just nothing more than something else, another accolade to add to the greatness of Canelo Alvarez. I guess in a similar fashion in which Deontay Wilder fought Tyson Fury. And in the second fight, he lost convincingly, or lost in a very brutal fashion in the second fight. But in the third fight, he comes back, and even though he's losing the majority of the fight, he actually winds up being able to knock down Tyson Fury twice, hurt Tyson Fury, and he puts up this battle where you know that he is overmatched, but yet he never quits. He fights to the end. He goes out on his shield, and as a result, people look at him in a different light and say, you know what? He may not have been able to beat Tyson Fury, but that guy right there is a warrior. And hey, man, we got to give that dude that type of respect. Similarly, they're making the argument that Canelo Alvarez is that type of warrior, that he went all the way up to 175 pounds from 154 pounds and battled a young, undefeated champion who was a lot bigger than him, who was fresher than he was, right? And he lost the fight, but just because he lost the fight doesn't mean that he doesn't deserve the accolades for the fight, because of his warrior spirit and his willingness to take risk, right? That's the argument. And then therefore saying that is what separates him from Floyd Mayweather Jr., who never did that, right? Now, it's very hard for me to make an intelligent argument or mimic an intelligent argument about Floyd Mayweather Jr. not taking risks, because Floyd Mayweather Jr. went up more weight classes than Canelo Alvarez has. So Canelo Alvarez was started at 154. He moved to, and I'm not talking, I think he may have started like when he was 18 or 15 or something like that, fought at 147 in Mexico, but we're not going to count that. We're going to count when he actually got on the world-class level, right? Because Canelo Alvarez didn't have an amateur career, so he had a lot of fights that were professional fights, but when he was a little kid, right? So he fought at 147, but that's not official. I mean, that's not, a legitimate weight range that he was at when he was a world-class fighter. As a world-class fighter, he fought in 154, 160, 168, and 175. That's 4 weight classes. Floyd Mayweather Jr. fought at 130, 135, 140, 147, and 154 against Canelo Alvarez himself. Now, the argument about Canelo Alvarez fighting Dimitri Bivol going up, by the way, going up 1 weight class, because he went from 168 to 175. However, he is already had been a 175-pound champion, right, by beating Sergey Kovalev. That's when people were saying, or the media at the time were saying, look, he matched Henry Armstrong. He won titles, consecutively holding titles in 3 different divisions, right? The 160, the 168, and the 175-pound division. He's now done what Henry Armstrong has done. Even though it's nothing close to similar to what he did, that's what they were saying when he beat Kovalev, right? So this beating Dimitri Bivol, going up to fight Dimitri Bivol, is just him doing the same thing he'd already done when he fought Kovalev for I do believe the WBO, I do believe that was for the WBO 175-pound title. But whatever the case is, he moves up and fights Dimitri Bivol, and they're saying that's the same thing as Floyd Mayweather Jr., but Floyd Mayweather Jr. fought Canelo Alvarez. And the big difference between the two of them is that Floyd Mayweather Jr. won. However, they're saying, well, this guy, Canelo Alvarez, was green. He wasn't all the way mature. He was still a kid, which is, in my opinion, silliness, because the man had already had 40 fights. He was a longtime reigning champion at 154 pounds. He had been I believe the WBA champion. He had successfully defended his title like 7 times in that weight class. And Floyd Mayweather Jr. was almost 36 years old. So it's almost like, it's like they want to give credit to Canelo Alvarez for losing, but they don't want to give credit to Floyd Mayweather Jr. for winning. So to me, all of that stuff kind of falls on his face, and the idea but then just do not be surprised if as soon as Canelo Alvarez wins another fight, that's the story that they run with, because that's what they did with Manny Pacquiao as well. Manny Pacquiao had lost multiple fights, and with certain people, their losses do not affect them. Canelo Alvarez, his losses and his close fights do not affect him in the minds of the media. They keep pushing forward like, hey, man, a loss doesn't mean anything when it's Canelo. However, let some of these other fighters get a loss, and all of a sudden they are absolutely done for. You'll never see them. They're completely exposed. You never see them again, right? Let Robert Easter lose a fight. You know what I'm saying? Robert Easter will never get another fight again. It's about the money. It's about the promoter and the relationship that they have with the media to push these fighters. But anyway, the idea that Floyd Mayweather Jr., that Canelo Alvarez was greater or beforehand is silly. The idea that he still is afterwards, man, is ridiculous. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.